We are going to talk about Spinoza. Spinoza was born in a Jewish Portuguese community in Holland. He grew up studying the Jewish faith, though his radical ideas of God would eventually leave him excommunicated from the Jewish community in Amsterdam. Though given the opportunity to teach at a university, he lived out his life as a simple lens grinder, spending his free time perfecting his philosophy. He was a medical doctor who kept abreast of all that was new in the sciences. He was also notorious for his allegedly religious cast of mind. He was a passionate advocate of democratic political ideals. After his excommunication, Spinoza lived and worked at times at the school of his old Latin teacher, Franciscus van den Inden, an atheist and devotee of the rationalism of Descartes, who was forbidden by the city government to propagate his doctrines publicly. Benedict de Spinoza, known alternatively as Baruch Spinoza, was born in 1632. During his life, Spinoza reimagined God not as a personified entity described in the Bible or the Torah, but rather as a substance. Though a rationalist, he challenged Descartes' substance dualism, arguing that everything was made of one substance, and that substance was God. Though his rigorous works are highly regarded, Spinoza is often glossed over or skipped in studies of the rationalist. Spinoza pioneered a position in philosophy that would later come to be known as pantheism in his book Ethics. He argued that God was not some personified being that cared what you did or sent everything. In order to understand the will of God, we should not study the scriptures, rather we should study nature and the natural world. To understand good and evil, we should not look at things from our own limited perspective, but rather from a global perspective from the view of eternity. Spinoza's argument for a pantheistic God was actually quite simple. It might be summarized as follows. For a substance to exist, it must have at least one property. If two things share a property, they must be the same substance. God exists and has all properties. God shares properties with everything that exists. God is the same substance as everything that exists. In his time, Spinoza was denounced as a heretic and an atheist by Christians and Jews alike. However, his philosophy did not so much, but rather an objection to the conception of God put forward by holy texts and modern religion. Influenced by the Stoics and Seneca in particular, Spinoza championed a life free from religious guilt, whose purpose was not to believe blindly, but rather to investigate the world and use reason to discover God's true purpose. In the treatise, Spinoza put forth his most systematic critique of Judaism and all organized religion in general. Spinoza argued that theology and philosophy must be kept separate. Where the goal of theology is obedience, philosophy aims to understand the rational truth. For Spinoza, those who believe that God acts for some end are delusional and projecting their hopes and fears into the workings of nature.